We are at part 10, made it to the double digits of Dash platform walkthroughs with my good old buddy Jim Fisk. What's up, Jim?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. So I'm Jim. I'm a web developer. I've had a kind of a meandering career of doing different things. I mainly started in CMS technology, building websites for governments and nonprofits. I got excited about Jamstack technology. That's how I met Anthony back in the day. Like static site generators and beyond. And just a whole general gamut of things. So through that work I was doing on static sites, everything's kind of microservice architected. So building microservices with Go has been something that I've been doing for the last few years. And yeah, I'm a crypto enthusiast, but I'm a newbie in terms of like blockchain and decentralization. I love the idea of that stuff, but it's like I've never really dove too deeply myself into that world. So I'm excited to connect with you guys, learn a little bit about Dash, which is something that's been on my radar for a little bit, but to actually get some brass tacks knowledge is really exciting.
And you built a Svelte framework. I'm not sure if you mentioned that. And so
Yeah.
part of these walkthroughs is to get JavaScript developers and like front end framework kind of people on. So Ryan, this is your Svelte guy right here.
Well,
Okay.
yeah,
Right.
it's funny. I'm actually so yeah. I built a Svelte framework. It's like a static site generator. It's funny because I'm like the least JavaScript guy. I actually built that out of like spite of a lot of the JavaScript ecosystem. So
It's
I'm like
probably the oldest Svelte framework there is now.
Yeah, it was pretty early. That was like back in the Sapper days. So yeah.
Svelte framework. What does that even mean? Svelte is a framework. So how do you build a Svelte framework without building Svelte? What does that
static site generator?
Yeah, that's a good point. So I mean, Svelte's still doing the heavy lifting of SSR and DOM targets, but we're basically just handling all the things like routing and hydration, and we actually built a little CMS into the system itself. So if people are familiar with static site generators, the whole thing that's cool about that is you can deploy them on like GitHub pages or GitLab pages. And what we do is we shipped basically a small Svelte app that uses OAuth to connect back to those platforms. And then, so what you can do is you can log into your website, which is a static site. You can make changes, and then that basically writes back to your repo, CI rebuilds it, and then deploys it. So it feels like a CMS, but there's no server on the back end.
Yes, that's very cool. And that's actually kind of near and dear to my heart because I personally, I have this thing with corporations running the world, and I don't like that trend. And I think static sites are a good solution, technical solution to have people build sites, and like you own the site. And if we could just get people, like, it's not, you don't have to, I understand there's a very small connection there, but it's an important small connection in that when you are interacting with servers, by nature, you're kind of like assumed into the Borg to some degree. Whereas if you can just author static sites, that's something that you own. And as long as you can deploy it to any number of, it's just a more decentralized option overall in general is what I'm trying to get at. So yeah, I like that trend. And I think it pairs well with Web3, which is what we're here to talk about today, Dash specifically. Dash platform will also it will work with a static site because it's just an SDK that you import into your site. And let's go ahead and get your screen share going. And
also, we were going to talk about you've used that, you've owned Dash before. Did you mention
that's
that?
right? Yeah. You mentioned it on a pre-show, but I said, "Oh, hold that. Let's share that with the folks."
Yeah. So I mean, this was a while ago. I can't actually even remember the date when I purchased my first Dash, but I had heard some kind of murmuring about some of the advantages of Dash over something like Bitcoin for being a transactional product. In terms of
the message time. Reached you somehow.
Yeah. So I mean, that was exciting to me because I actually I know a lot of people think of crypto as this investment product, like the store of wealth that grows. I'm less interested in that. I like the idea of it being a transactional product, that is something that people actually use. And so that was exciting to me. So I just wanted to have some, and I would love to live in a world where that's something that I'm using on a day-to-day basis, whether it's, using that as a crypto payment process, or doing something like we're going to talk about today about using it as a Dash platform to actually build products and things. That sounds exciting to me too. I think decentralization is the future. I hope that it succeeds and people embrace it. So I'm excited to learn more.
Cool. Very cool. I'm glad to hear that the message got to you somehow. We'll add you to the screen. Looks like you got a little bit started, which is awesome because everybody's seen these first steps several times.
You'll probably want to start at create wallet and identity, I think is about where you were at. If you want to click
let's
that in your table of contents.
Yeah. So I'm not super far along. So basically I've done a couple things here, right? So I've set up some of the scaffolding. I tried to do my first transaction via this faucet thing that you guys had, or I don't know if you guys had set it up, or who runs this part. What's that?
How'd that go?
So it didn't. So I had a trouble. So when I went through and I did the transaction, I got like a 500 error, and the server seemed like it went down for a brief second.
That means it worked, yeah.
Oh, it did. Okay. Well, I don't see it, and so I'm supposed to be able to confirm this via this address, right? But I don't see any transactions, so I don't know if it did work.
Okay.
And it did lock me out for. It said try back in an hour too, so it said both those things, and so I figured instead of spamming this and having it not work when you guys are on the call, I might as well wait for you and we can take a look. This was over an hour ago, so we should be good to try again if you want me to start here.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. So you already have an address then.
Yeah. So this is this in my API? I can't remember where this is.
In your environment file.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Great. So I'll grab my address. And let's put this in here. Okay. So that's my address. I got to see, this is the thing I always struggle with is passing these. Okay. So bridges we're looking at, that looks like I think that's a bridge. That's always ambiguous. Bridge. Is that a bridge? I don't know.
Good question.
I'm going to say, yeah. More bridges. That's a bridge. That's probably a bridge. Okay.
And then it's going to tell you the same thing if it already gave you a message saying no more Dash for you, but that usually means that it gave you Dash. Is probably just not showing up in the block explorer.
Okay. Should I click get coins now?
Let's go ahead and for it the coins and see what happens this time. Okay. And then Anthony, if you could do this on your side, we may have to send him some coins instead of getting them from the faucet. I think that we're still running on the same test net that we did last time. So if you already have some from last time by chance, Anthony, we could just try sending him some.
Yeah, I can also get him set up with Dashmate on a local node pretty easily now.
Oh, okay. So we might end up going that route.
Let's just try. Let's go forward like we have funds and see what happens when we try and register the identity, because I think the funds are probably in there.
Oh, well. I'm not so sure about that if the block explorer is not showing any, because usually I know this is buggy too, but we'll find out, I guess. So Jim, just so you know, our testnet infrastructure isn't top notch here, but so sometimes the explorer doesn't show us what we're looking to see, and sometimes the faucet doesn't work.
Okay,
but we have an alternate plan if it's not working. So
sure.
Which we want to test anyway, so it might be a good time to do that.
Okay.
But let's go ahead and go back to the tutorial, and then we'll act like we have funds, and if it in fact shows that we don't, then we'll go with the local route.
Okay. Okay, so you want me to skip ahead here? So this would be the transaction link that's not appearing, but we'll get that in a minute, it sounds like. Some more about that. Okay, then I did register and retrieve an identity.
Oh, okay. Then you already had the funds. You can't do that without funds.
Okay. So, and this is my identifier. This means I have a valid identity with credits.
Yeah, the credits were because you loaded the funds from the faucet and then transferred that when you created the identity.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense. And I was able to verify that balance. I know there was a step here of where is it? doing the retrieve identities. I did this, and I can see like a balance when I run that script. So I got something like this.
That script was failing last time we were doing it, so that's good.
Yeah, it seemed to work for me. I can run it. I don't know if
But you should have your identity ID in your .env also.
Oh, okay. I don't think
Let's run that retrieve identities, and then we'll see if it is this where it spits out the.
This will give you the whole object.
Yeah, it took a second the last time I did it, but it did spit out the balance. Here, actually, I copied it over to a text file just in case. So it looked like this.
Nice.
And it gave me this.
Okay, so you just copy that identity ID and create a environment variable.
Is it called identity ID?
Snake case, snake.
Okay.
Screaming snake case.
Okay. Right. All caps.
Yeah.
Okay.
We want that snake to be screaming.
Yeah. I never heard that screaming snake case. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see.
That command probably finished by now.
Cool.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
So we have this here. Yeah. Cool.
Same identity, right? Yep. Looks the same.
So that's the 7BR 6PA.
All right, you're cooking. You're ready to go.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Back to the tutorial.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So we have an identity. Actually, maybe this is a good time to explain. So the identity, this is like a personal identifier for myself on the network. Is this like a username for me, or what's this? What is the identity?
It's like a public-private key pair, and what you see that was outputted is like the public part of it. And this is something I keep telling myself to look into specifically so that I can have a more confident answer. But what you would need to know about this is that it's kind of like a public-private key pair, where, or in fact, it is exactly that.
Yeah.
And the identity is what you use to do all of your interactions with the Dash platform. Okay. So it holds a balance as well. And you can register names, which we'll do, and you can register data contracts and submit documents all through this identity.
Okay. And then this balance is not actually Dash. This is like some kind of equivalent credit that relates to a Dash.
Yes. So one Dash, if you're familiar with Bitcoin, in Bitcoin, you have one Bitcoin. There are 100 million Satoshis is the smallest unit of Bitcoin. So a lot of people in the early days used to think you could only buy one Bitcoin, but no, you can buy like subparts of Bitcoin. It's the same in Dash. So 100 million Satoshis in Dash is one Dash. And then that gets further divided into 1,000 credits. So 100 instead of million, it's 100 billion credits is one Dash, essentially. Okay. So you get a bunch of credits. They're a very small unit. And that's how and the reason for that is that like the smallest unit of computation, all the things that you do on Dash platform is either it's computation, like any cloud service, you would have storage costs and you would have compute costs and things like that. And the smallest unit of computation is a credit. Well, there's like a price list, which we haven't shown or gone through, but you can imagine that everything that you do, whether it's storing data or registering data, which has computation along with that, would cost a certain amount of credits.
Gotcha.
So instead of using very, very small decimal points, we just use very small units.
Gotcha. And so obviously, through this process, I got some credits from the Faucet app, but like if I were to do something in production, I would I exchange Dash for the credits, or could I buy these with US dollars, or how would I obtain these to start a platform?
Yep. So you exchange Dash for the credits. Exactly. And that's like a built-in exchange feature of Dash. So there are high level architecturally, Dash consists of two blockchains. You have a proof of work blockchain, and then you have a proof of stake blockchain. Do these terms mean anything to you with the level of knowledge that you have with crypto?
Do you know, I'm vaguely familiar with the terms, but I'd love a quick recap if you're able to.
Yeah, so proof of work is where, so every cryptocurrency has to get created and put into circulation somehow. And in Bitcoin, since that was the first cryptocurrency, that's always a good place to start. In Bitcoin, Satoshi defined it so that you would have to do some work. So he was like killing two birds with one stone. One thing that he needs to do is he has to incentivize the node operators on the network. And another thing he needs to do is get his currency into circulation. And so might as well do those, pair those up and have those all be done with one process. And that's the mining process. So the mining process is you have a bunch of transactions that happen on the peer-to-peer network. Somebody has to assemble these transactions and put them into a block of transactions and put a stamp on it that says, these are all valid transactions. That's what the whole process of mining is. And because that is a process that takes computation power, and Satoshi recognized that you can't just let this be a volunteer thing. You have to incentivize and compensate the miners for doing this work. Otherwise, it's a non-sustainable network. And so the method which he used to allow miners to be the one miner on the network, and because it's an open network, anybody can choose to be a miner. So he decided that we're just going to have this work function where you're just crunching a bunch of numbers to show that you've done some work. And so that the whole purpose behind that is Sybil protection, because you don't want an attacker to be able to spin up, like, let's say 1,000 miners and just like take over the network. And so to protect against that, there was this work function that had to be performed so that you could, proportional to the work that you're putting into the network, you could be chosen to be that miner that gets to append the blockchain with new data of transactions that are occurring on the network. And so that's proof of work. And it goes a lot deeper than that. I just barely skimmed the surface, but that's proof of work. Now, then later came along proof of stake, where some people recognize, hey, like, there's another way to secure this network, and we call it proof of stake. And it's basically, instead of people proving that they've done a bunch of work to be able to participate in the network, let's just prove that they own a bunch of the stake of the network, meaning the native tokens of that cryptocurrency. Also, contrary to popular belief, Ethereum was not the first proof of stake blockchain. It was actually very, very far behind in the list of proof of stake blockchains. It's now a proof of stake blockchain, but it wasn't until just recently. So proof of stake is similar in concept, but instead of doing a bunch of work, you just have to prove that you own a bunch of coins. And so Dash came along after Bitcoin and said, hey, there's this hybrid model where we can mine coins through proof of work, but we can also introduce some kind of staking elements into this, and we call that a master node, where a master node is a certain node on the network that's running this. A node meaning somebody running the computer, running the software that relays transactions and validates them and things like that. If we have a node that proves that they have 1,000 Dash, then we can assign these specific special nodes certain responsibilities to perform, and because they're backed by stake, we can trust them. And so every master node on the Dash network is collateralized by this 1,000 Dash stake. And they perform things like private send functions and instant send confirmations so that you can get instantly confirmed transactions, things like that. So that's not necessarily proof of stake, but it's proof. We pioneered that concept of staking some coins to do some service. And then later on, we wanted usernames on our blockchain. And so long story short, we developed this product called Dash Platform. And we wanted this to be a proof of stake blockchain because we already have this set of validators that we already know and trust. And so we use a subset of the master nodes to be the stakers on the proof of stake network. So yeah, you have these two different blockchains, and then there are ways to move funds from the proof of work chain to the proof of stake chain. And that's what we're doing when we're doing this top up identities transaction. So that's a long answer to your question about moving, how do you get credits? So yeah, you do this special transaction called the top up transaction that moves the coins. And then there's also going to be a withdrawal function as well that will do the opposite and move it back from the proof of stake platform chain back to the proof of work core payments chain.
And anyway, this is done for an efficiency standpoint. Is that to not waste compute, or what is the basic, like, what is the impetus behind that structure?
Yeah, like why have two different blockchains? Yeah. So proof of stake blockchains, proof of work blockchains, I guess I'll start with that. They're not really designed to be able to hold data and have like indexing and proofs and stuff like that. If you can store data in proof of work blockchains, a lot of people have done that. You store data in like the op return field is what it's called. But it's not specially designed for that. So the proof of work blockchain, which is based on Tendermint, if you've heard of blockchains like Cosmos or things like that, they developed a blockchain that you could basically just like kind of like a white labeled blockchain almost. Like it's got the bare bones minimum infrastructure that you need to create a blockchain, and then you can just anybody can pretty easily spin up their own blockchain. Well, we took that and we modified it. But basically at the end of the day, the purpose behind that is because the purpose behind having two blockchains is that we have two main different types of functions. Storing data and retrieving data. This is better done on a proof of stake blockchain that has it's just better tailored for that. Okay. Whereas we don't want to get rid of the proof of work chain because there are certain security properties that has, and actually not just security, but some people think it's even more fair ways to distribute coins. So we have both. So we have, if we want certain properties of one, we can use the one. If we want certain properties of the other, we can use the other. So it's kind of like a marriage between these two different types of blockchains.
Okay.
And those are really like the main two. And you also have proof of authority chains where it's like, very indistinguishable from just a centrally controlled corporation. So we're not too interested in that anyway, but yeah.
In the we that you're talking about, this is like what is the term? DAO? Is that a decentralized organization of sorts?
Yeah. So DAO's decentralized autonomous organization. It's just a kind of a funny term for an organization that's open for anybody to participate in. So do you know much about DAOs or DAOs, or
besides the name and the general concept? But no, I don't know functionally how they work.
Well, there are a ton of them. There are a lot of them on the Ethereum, in the Ethereum ecosystem and other proof of stake ecosystems. It's basically, Anthony, I've been talking quite a bit. Why don't you, and you're pretty familiar with this topic, so why don't you give Jim your explanation of a DAO?
Yeah, so a DAO is like a corporation and a government had a baby written in code. So it's like a bunch of contracts that allow funding to be set aside to basically build new stuff or maintain the network that is then decided on by people submitting proposals that are voted on, and then it gets paid out to the network. So if you own Dash, you can vote on like where the Dash funds should go. So it kind of is more transparent in terms of everyone sees where the money is, who the money is going to, and it's a really interesting system. A lot of them are pretty dysfunctional, but this one is been like going for a while and seems to. I mean, I always get paid, so
Yeah. Is it a register? Is it registered with any government body or anything like that?
No, not the DAO itself is not.
Okay.
So the DAO itself, or any DAO for that matter, is just software. I mean,
Okay.
that's at the end of the day, it's just software, and
Mhm.
what that software does is depends on the specific DAO. But in our DAO, what it is our DAO is mostly part of our proof of work chain.
Mhm.
So that's, I mean, obviously we started as a proof of work chain. We don't even have any proof of stake chains on the main net yet. This is still in test net. But yeah, like our DAO is essentially a function in the C++ code, or a set of functions in the C++ code of the that's synonymous with a node. It just happens to be written in C++. It's just certain functions there that say, hey, there's a certain cycle where we're accepting proposals on our network. And those proposals can be requesting funds, they can be asking a question, and then the node operators, or specifically the master node operators, are allowed to then vote yes, no, abstain on those proposals. And if it's a funding proposal, then if that specific proposal reaches a certain amount of votes, then the funds are then created and then sent to the owner of that proposal, which, you know, putting the address to pay out to is part of the proposal creation process.
Mhm.
If it's just a question, like sometimes people, like, as a very classic example of a governance question would be like, hey, should we raise the block size limit from 1 megabyte to 2 megabytes?
Mhm.
That was something that the Bitcoin community got mired in for many, many years, and people still look back on that huge debate. People are still actually having that debate. But in Dash, we actually had that question, and somebody just submitted a proposal to the network, and the stakeholders, meaning the masternode owners, they voted on it, and it was done within a month. You know, so it's like it's
Nice.
just a very easy way for your network to come to decisions on important matters, instead of going back and forth on Reddit. You know, there's some importance of going back and forth and having discussions on Reddit and Twitter and things like that. But at the end of the day, you want to know what the stakeholders view as their opinion. So
Yep.
we actually pioneered the whole concept of DAOs as well, in that sense, where we were the first functional DAO back over not over 10 years. Our blockchain has gone on for over 10 years, but our DAO is probably 8 or so years old now. So it was the first one, even before the quote, the DAO in the Ethereum land, which is a little bit more popular, but wasn't the first. Anyway, so yeah, that's the Dash DAO, and that's DAOs in general. It's just like Anthony was saying, if you had governments which operate by polling and voting and things like that for the most part, and married that with corporations which have funding and all that stuff, that's what a DAO is. And it's the distinguishing feature is that it's open, so anybody can make a proposal, anybody can join. You know, if you have 1,000 Dash, you can operate a masternode and become a voter. Nobody's going to say no, because it's just software.
Yep. And the funding itself is what's coming from the blockchain, right? Like the funding is Dash.
Yes.
Cool.
Yep. So where in Bitcoin, 100% of the newly issued Bitcoin on a daily, monthly, yearly basis, that's all going to pay miners, which is important. But in Dash, we recognize that's not the most important. It's not the only important thing to fund.
Mhm.
It's also important to fund your core developers. It's also important to fund community developers. It's also important to fund marketers.
Yep.
And so we split out a portion of the block reward, 20% actually, to this generalized fund that can pay anybody who submits a proposal and has a successful proposal, including yourself, Jim. Like you could make your own proposal to the network and try to ask for funding if you wanted to work for Dash more in the future.
And then I assume like someone who's well respected in the community can probably propose something larger, and then they might get funding that they then allocate to other developers or other people to help them like carry out that vision. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
That's
that's where
what
we are.
Ryan does.
That's what we're doing. So
Cool.
I get funding from the proposal system. Actually,
Mhm.
just a few hours ago, we had our call to give our quarterly report from last quarter and ask for more funds for Q3. And yeah, so I receive those funds and then I pay out, because not everybody has to have their own specific proposal.
Sure.
There's a certain balance to take. You don't want too many people having proposals, and then it becomes hard to manage and for the stakeholders to read 100 proposals, but you also don't want one proposal.
Mhm.
So yeah, we try to strike a balance. That's what we're paying for. That's how we pay for this specific effort right here. So yep.
Nice. No, sounds great. Should I start sharing my screen again and go back to the tutorial?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. Oh, are you with me?
Oh, we need to add. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and then so I think this kind of like this next section looks like it's going back to what we were talking about. So looks like we're heading to converting Dash to credits. So that kind of goes to that initial question I had there. So looks like I need to do my top up identity script.
Mm-hmm.
Can pop over here. I'll create that file, and then that will create a script file called top up identities. Okay. And there's probably some code we want to put in here. Okay. Let's grab this. And then Anthony, I don't know if you want to walk through this, but it looks like we're getting our wallet, we're getting our identities, and then we're running a top up. And so with this here, are we just adding?
Yeah, that's the credits. Yeah. So
Okay.
that's the amount. And that's what we're talking about with the smaller denominations.
Uh-huh.
And you just need the identity ID, and then you feed that to the top up. And the way I have this written is that you can end up with multiple identity IDs within a single wallet if you create more than one. And this just tops up all of them because it's all just monopoly money right
Uh-huh.
now. But you would want more granular control of that once this is on mainnet.
Okay. So because this is a test environment, like that's what's allowing me to do, 'cause I don't actually have any real money right now, but because we're in a test environment, it's allowing me to do this. Is that the case?
Yeah, because you got the funds from the faucet, and
Okay.
so that you can transfer into credits. And so if you
Okay.
have like 3 identity IDs, you could top up each of them, and it's not going to be very much.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's so the credits I got from the faucet are being converted here. That's what we're doing. The money I got from the faucet.
Yeah, that's moving from the layer 1, the original chain, to the platform chain, which is where
Okay.
the identity and all that stuff lives.
So what I got from the faucet was that credits or was that Dash? Like what did I actually get from the
That was
faucet?
Dash. And then
Oh,
that is
okay.
turned into the credits
That's
once you
here.
move on to the platform functionality, which is the identities and the storage and all that.
Okay, cool. And that's the process we're doing here. We're converting that. Okay.
Yeah.
So run this script here.
Yeah, I have another tutorial I'm working on, and I made it even simpler to where the function that you need the credits, I just had a top up run right before anyway. So it's just kind of does it automatically. But this is all stuff where you actually want granular control once this is real money. You don't want to be just throwing random money in different places.
Yep. And while we're waiting for this to complete, how sensitive is the information in this? Is this all considered private if I was in a real world environment? Like should my wallet address, do I need to worry about this?
The
Or is this
mnemonic
just
is the most important thing. If this had real funds on it, that's the thing
okay?
you would that gives you control of the whole wallet.
Okay. But this is like a public address. So this is something I could actually use to receive funds from someone I didn't know or necessarily trust.
Yep.
Yep, and that's what you do when you claim things in the DAO for tasks. You give your wallet address and the thing you
Gotcha.
did.
Okay. And then my identity ID, is that private or public?
That's public.
Okay. Great. Let's see here. See if I can. Okay. So looks like, sorry, let me just close my mini map here.
Get rid of,
Okay.
get rid of the thing on the bottom too that says hi.
Oh yes, yeah, thank you. So okay, the block height handler is already set. My identity credit balance for my ID is this. So that just topped up. It converted to my dash to the credits. Okay, and then is this reflected over in my browser? Should I look at that, or is that reflected here? This is the top up we just
There you
did.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I can take a look at this. Okay. Cool. All right. Next step. So we got our output here. Okay. So now we want to register and retrieve name, create a file. Okay. We're going to create register name. Is this like a username I'm creating right now?
Yeah, it's kind of like a domain / username.
Okay. So I create that script, and then we're going to create a label in our env and replace your name here with my name. Okay. And do I need this comment? This looks like a, oh, it's just actually doing it. Gotcha. Grab this.
I'm just realizing now, Anthony, you go ahead and keep working if you want, Jim, but I'm just realizing now that like introducing the name is actually conceptually should be subsequent to some of the other stuff that we do in this, because the name, registering a name is just one type of a document submission. And so what we'll do in the later steps of this tutorial, Jim, is we're going to create a data contract. And you can think of that very similar to a database schema.
Okay.
And then we're going to, after that, we're going to submit documents that adhere to that schema that are called documents. So we have these two concepts in Dash Platform, data contracts and documents. Okay. And it's just like I said, the data contract is just like a platform version of a database schema for a document database. And then the Dash Pay, there's a certain data contract that will be enabled on mainnet soon-ish, and is already on testnet as well, called Dash Pay. That's a certain data contract that the developers of Dash Core Group have written, and that was one of the reasons that we built Dash Platform, is to have this username system. But it's really just it's the same as any other data contract that you or I or Anthony could make, but it is a so-called system contract, which means it's kind of like launched with Dash Platform, and it's kind of like a blessed data contract, but it's the same things conceptually as any contract that we would be making. So yeah, conceptually, we should probably actually put registering a name down a little further, maybe, as I'm thinking about it, because you don't have we haven't yet talked about the data contracts and the documents yet at this point in the tutorial. But anyway,
do you want me to skip ahead so we can do it in the sequence of what you're describing?
We can keep doing it in this sequence. I wanted, since it seems like you're pretty inquisitive, I wanted you to get the idea of what this registering of a name is. It's just one instance of registering a data contract.
Yeah, I think you're right that there should be a section where we just kind of talk about that there's pre-made contracts already. I think right now the way it's grouped is to keep all the identity stuff together. So you like have the concept of identity and then the concept of storage. And so that I think kind of makes sense. But I think once then the data contract is introduced, you can be like, oh, by the way, here are these other contracts you've already been working with under the hood.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll work that out separately.
Yeah. And as we get there, I think I have a few questions on it, but just real quick. So if I was a platform developer, would I have multiple names registered, or would I have like one? It sounds like I'd possibly have multiple.
As many as you want.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. But would that be typical, like to carry out,
It really depends on what you're doing. Like if you had an application where you had some kind of, you know, you have some kind of business idea in mind, and
Mhm.
just like any application, you're going to have users, and those users are going to be doing something on your application. Well, in the Dash platform world, you might set up an easy way for your users to register for Dash platform usernames and just use that as your authentication method.
Yep.
And in that case, you would have your users, you would have an application that exposed the ability for your users to register as Dash platform users. And in that case, you would be creating a username for each of your users. But that's just one version. You could also, another application is you personally just want to register your own, Jim Fisk name,
Yeah.
but you might want a private one in addition to that.
Mhm.
And you could use the same identity that controls these two different personas. So that's a different application.
Okay. And so if I were, so just the same way that I ran this register name script, I would potentially using the same mechanism for registering all my users of an application that I might build.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. If in fact you wanted your users to leverage Dash platform as your authentication method, and I've told this to Anthony before. One way to kind of easily remember what Dash platform is good for is it's kind of like a spa for spas. And by spa, I mean, it's a different acronym. So SPA meaning storage, payments, and authentication.
Different than the spa that I'm used to. Okay. Yeah.
But SPA for spas, meaning storage, payments, and auth for single page applications. It's like,
oh,
you want to
gotcha.
make a single page application. You don't want to deal with auth 0 for your auth, and you don't want to deal with Stripe for your payments, and you don't want to deal with AWS for your cloud storage. You can use Dash platform for all of those.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, so I'm over here. It looks like that succeeded. I registered my Jim123.
Cool. So you're on the platform now.
Great. Okay. So following along here. So it looks like that's what I got there. This is, I think, just screenshotting basically what we were just looking at there. So now we're going to create a file to retrieve name. So I think this is basically just using the API to get the same information. Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's create that file, and we have retrieve name, and let's see. We have a script here. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So the the application that you just went to earlier, the platform platformexplorer.com, this guy that made this, he's basically doing functions similar to what you're doing to find the names on the platform. He's just doing it in a generalized approach where he's kind of capturing all the different transactions that go through. And so that's this concept of an explorer, is that you scour the whole blockchain and you're listening for all the events on the blockchain, and you're dumping it into this explorer that anybody can just see if what they did was working. But yeah, you're doing the same thing with the code.
Oh, gotcha. Yep. He's given us like a GUI for the same basic API transaction. Yep. Okay. That makes sense. Great. So I just added that there, and then it looks like we're just going to run it to test it. Let's give that a test. Okay. Yep. And let me expand that. So yeah, it's basically, this looks like maybe a more like this. They're exposing more information here, but it's the same information as we're seeing here. Looks like.
Yeah, and you can see there's the data contract. So this has all that information in there.
Okay. Okay. great. And okay. And so, yep, we got our object, our name object, our data contract info. Yeah, so I guess the tutorial I'm sure is going to get into this. Okay, data contracts. I know we were just, Ryan, you're just discussing this. Is it helpful for me to go through this, or do you want me to skip ahead?
Let's see. I switched off. I was looking. Okay. Data contracts. Yes. Yeah. We'll go through this.
Okay, I'll breeze it. So serves as a blueprint for the structure of data that an application intends to store on the decentralized network. Okay. It defines the schema, documents, database records. And you had described this as kind of like a database schema for the decentralized network. Contracts enable the platform to validate data against these schemas to ensure consistency and integrity. Okay. They are crucial for decentralized apps. They provide a structured and predictable way to interact with the Dash blockchain. Data contracts facilitate data storage, retrieval, and manipulation in a trustless environment. You can create data contracts through an online user interface, DashPay. Okay. Should I look at this? Or is this just an example?
You can check it out. Yeah, it's a cool little app.
Cool. Yeah, we won't go too much into this, but if you had no idea how to create a data contract, this uses AI to help structure your contract and give you a good starting point.
Oh, cool. Great. I can see that being useful. Okay. Register, retrieve, and update contract. So create a file, register contract. Okay. And then we're going to add a way to create new contracts. And so that first name retrieval, it displayed some information about a data contract. So was it a data contract was created through that process, and now we're creating another one? Is that what we're doing?
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. What did I just create? I just created register contract. Okay.
Yeah. So now you're creating your own contract. And then we'll.
And what is the purpose of this contract that I'm creating here?
Anthony, you want to describe that?
It's just a hello. Just hello world. Okay. It's just
so the contract document has a note. The note is type object. The object has a message. The message is type string.
Okay.
That's it.
Yep. Okay. Cool. So we created that. We're going to run the script. Let's give that a run. And this will probably appear over here as well. If I come back here. Oop. Guess it doesn't like. No, it doesn't like that.
It should give you the output in the terminal anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's.
It's not done. So give it a second. This is that's another thing to do.
Go over to the Platform Explorer and go to contracts, data contracts.
Okay.
And you see the latest one was 7.9. So that was like several days ago.
Yeah.
In theory, if we refresh this after it's done, you'll see yours. Yeah.
Yep. So this is me.
Yep.
Okay. Was this supposed to say something, Anthony, or was it a blank message?
Go back to your terminal.
Okay. Let's see here.
Sorry, what part were you talking about? The blank message?
Oh, I didn't know. So does this say hello world in
so not yet. So this creates the schema that allows you to have a message type. Gotcha. And then so this is the thing. There's data contracts, there's documents.
Okay. So data contract says we want a string. Yeah. Okay. I get it now.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So we specified, okay. Message type string. Okay. And now we're going to put a document on this contract, which is the actual data.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Shall I continue on?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So this was basically what we saw in the terminal, I believe. Okay. We looked at the Platform Explorer. Great. And now we're going to do retrieve contract. Okay. And retrieve contract. Copy this. Okay. Oops. Okay. Now we have that, and we're going to run the script. Retrieve contract. Okay. And this is retrieve contract is, again, we're directly hitting the
thing that
yeah. It's
what it's the same output that you got when you created it. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, this one throws an error sometime. I think I actually know what I need to do to fix this, but we can move on to the next part.
Okay. Just breeze ahead a little bit. Okay, so view on the platform. Okay, then we'll be able to check this out. And next we're going to create update. Okay, so we're going to update the contract. And so we're going to update the schema of the contract. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, so it's like if you decide, oh, actually my customers need country information or something like that, you could go back and modify it.
Okay. I should be able to just do this in another window real quick. I'll let that continue running, and I'll go to update contract, and we'll copy this code here, and I'll save it. Let me see if that's still going. It looks like
you could just kill that, actually.
Just let this kill it.
Yeah, you can kill that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's erroring out.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so update contract is in there. We're probably going to run the script, these handy dandy scripts, and
so this just adds an author information to the note.
Gotcha. Great. So yeah, coming through here. Get note. Okay. And so basically we just adding the author, and this is not affecting the message string that we had already put in here. It's just like adding to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So, so then the next thing would be run this. Did I already run this? No, I don't think I did. Okay. So that's updated. I should be able to probably check that out here in my schema, right? If I come here.
So that actually also errored out.
Oh, okay. Let's see here.
Oh, actually, check your .env real quick.
Oh yeah.
I think let's see. There's a part where you update. Go to your client also.
The contract ID, I think it needs.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at two things at once. So there's a part in the tutorial where we update the client. Okay, actually that.
I think because I wrote the client as one thing, and then
that's right after the update contract part, actually.
Oh, okay, I missed it.
Oh, wait, you need to have the contract ID in the update contract. So you need the contract ID in your .env.
The contract ID in here. Okay.
Yes.
In my contract.
That's also why the retrieve contract was failing.
Okay, and my contract ID is this.
Yeah.
Go back to your terminal output and just scroll up to whenever you did the create contract. Yeah. Right there, contract ID. It's up a little higher, actually.
Oh, is this not it?
It's lost in so right above the warning.
Oh,
actually, it's kind of the warning kind of obscures it. So
higher.
Sorry, too far. Go back down.
This here.
Go back down.
It's
That's
going to be in the format of an environment variable, so it'll
so
have.
scroll down a little bit. Keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. Okay, right there.
There it is.
Jump
Contract
up a
ID.
little higher above.
Gotcha.
Contract
Oh,
ID.
gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So you
It's
just copy paste that.
same ID, but you want the form. I get what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Gotcha.
There
Okay.
we go.
And then run this update contract again.
Yep.
Okay.
He may need to update the client at this point, right, Anthony? Or
After this, you update the client. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's give this a second, and then. Okay, so we updated the contract. Hopefully we get something like this back. Okay, and then add an apps object to the client options and pass the contract ID to enable contract name contract document syntax while accessing contract documents, for example. Okay. Tutorial contract .note. So is this a document?
It's like a query syntax kind of.
Okay. Okay, so we're adding our contract ID here.
Yeah.
Let's see if this finished.
Okay. It did, yeah.
Oh, it did. Okay, so that looks good, and then I should probably be able to see that over. See here. Okay.
Yep.
We have our author. All right, cool. So let's go to client.js. Let's just get rid of this whole thing. Oh, and I gotta recopy this actually. Okay. So I updated the client to use our contract ID, and then we're going to submit and retrieve documents. So we're going to submit our first document. Let's create a file that does that. And then we're going to put some boilerplate in that file. So it was called create document, submit note document. Okay. And then we're probably going to run it, right? Okay. Submit note document. Run that. Okay, and that would appear on, so right now there's no documents, but we have our schema and then documents in this Explorer. I assume we'll get it over here.
This is where the magic happens. This is what makes it all worth it.
Right? I actually didn't even check what we're writing over here. Is anything good? Hello from a label.
You can change that if you want.
Oh yeah.
You can say howdy.
Goodbye. Yeah.
Whatever.
Get crazy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get crazy. We'll write another one after this. If I just keep running the script, it'll just keep adding new ones, I assume.
Yes, and then you're also going to see how you can edit an already submitted one.
Oh, cool. All right.
And
I'll let this
still running.
Yeah, I'll let it finish before I get too crazy here. Oops. So okay, so we're letting our submit document note run.
And once this does run, you're going to want to save that document ID.
This ID here, and put this in our env.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
It should be done by now.
Let's take a look. Okay, looks done. I just want to check over here, get the validation of having it. All right, cool. All right, and I can look at this document and I can see it grabbed my registered name, picked a date. Cool. That's great. All right. I could just add another one here, right? So I could just run this again. All right. So now we're going to do get documents. Again, I think we're
document ID to your document.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Already forgot. My document ID is here. Okay. And we want to go to
And then real quick, you go to the error that you got from trying to submit the other one.
Mhm.
Scroll up just a little bit. Okay. Sometimes this just is an issue, I think, with the network. But
If I want to run again.
let's go on to the edit.
Okay.
Next one.
Okay. Get the documents first.
Yeah.
I don't think we've. Okay. Okay. That was called get documents. And then we'll test it. Okay. So we'll get something like that. And then we're going to remove it or update it first. Okay. Got hello. Great. Update note document. Update or update. Do you, I don't know, for your tutorial sake, if you guys want to be stepping through this code anymore, I'm kind of just going through the motions.
Yeah, you can take a look at it. We don't have to go over it too much.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, get the gist of what's happening.
The where part is what's important, because that's basically grabbing the ID with the document ID, and you can, in theory, use that to search based on like the message and other stuff.
Okay. Yep. So, yeah, right here. Gotcha.
And it just loops through and gives you all of them.
Okay.
Actually, sorry, that's the get one did the loop. This is just grabs the specific message.
Yeah, and so I guess are we resetting? How are we resetting just one specific note here? Okay, we're getting
that's where the document ID comes in, because each document you submit has its own ID separate from the contract ID.
Okay. Okay, so then we probably want to run this, I imagine. Update. Okay, so we're gonna run that. So we're basically adding in again to our message here.
Yep.
So our message will go. Forget where I was actually.
It was the one you were just on.
Is this one here? Okay. Oh yeah, here we are. So yeah, so I'll change from this to hello again. Once it's done.
Yeah, it should be 2 at that point, I think.
Oh, it appears as like
it'll only be 1, because it's just modifying the one that was already in there.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's this is since this is an update, like I don't know how blockchains work with like data history. Like, is this initial message scrubbed completely, or is that something that stays somehow in history?
It would probably remain on indexing services, but as far as the platform goes, it's scrubbed, because you'll be able to make
state transitions that basically say, submit note. Like if you go back to your main identity page in the platform explorer, where it shows like all the different things you've done.
Oh, was I there?
Just try searching for your identity, wherever that was.
So like grab my ID from.
Yeah.
Okay. This identity ID here. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. And then if I just search this here.
Yeah. So you see there's all those things you've done. So that saves the history.
Nice. Okay.
For each state transition.
And this is like the blockchain transactions, right? So like creating identity, topping up. Yeah. Okay.
So you can click through each of those little tabs and see. Let's see. I'm not sure which tab you clicked.
I clicked the identity create.
Oh, okay. So like click on documents.
One of the batches, or Documents. Gotcha.
There you
Yep.
go.
Uh-huh. So this was the create. Oh, this was maybe the second time I tried to create it.
Oh, that's your dash DPNS. That's your dash name document. That was a document against somebody else's schema.
Okay. A document against someone else's schema.
Meaning the dash pay contract. So you didn't create the dash pay contract. It existed before we did this tutorial, but you created a name on that contract.
Okay.
And then this is the document that you created on your own contract.
Gotcha. Okay. So we ran the update. We got the update. It looks like that's all good. We have our update again. The ID should be the same, so I don't have to update the environment variable at all. We got this. Okay. Now we can create read and update our notes. All we have left to do is delete. Okay. So we're just going to create a new file called delete. And let's see here. Create the file. Delete note document. And we will copy the boilerplate. Okay. And so it's getting our document ID from our environment variable, and it's running some code here to run a delete action on that. And let's give it a shot.
So if you haven't noticed, we're just basically doing the CRUD operations that you would typically do.
Yep. And then, so that should affect my data over here, I'd imagine.
We'll see.
Okay, that looks, oh. This had an error, so I tried it again.
SPV error. Anthony, do you know what that one's about? I don't think we've fully.
Yeah, that's the one that is usually just a network thing that setting the IP address can help, but I don't think it's really worth it to go through that whole thing.
Yeah, we'll just keep moving on.
Okay. And I guess a question that's coming to mind is, what kind of applications do you expect to be built on the platform? Like, is there like a certain type that shines, or is the hope that the whole internet moves towards building applications on a decentralized platform like Dash platform, or what's the goal, I guess?
Yeah. So every piece of software and every platform has its niche, and I would say the niche for Dash platform is where you want public data. Okay, so first of all, public data is what it's mostly designed for. Now you can encrypt things client side and store the encrypted versions on the platform. Okay. But if you're going to do private data, then this may not be the perfect use case. It may, but it may not. So at a high level, platform is kind of like a clean slate, you could say. It's just anything that you can think of. But in practice, I would guess it's going to be applications where you want public data and you want it to be provably present data. So like you could think of a decentralized Twitter. Mm-hmm. I don't expect a decentralized version of Twitter to overtake Twitter anytime soon, let alone Dash Platform's version of that. Yeah. However, it is possible, and to the degree that Elon Musk continues to allow free speech, it would make decentralized versions less appealing, because why do you need decentralized free speech if you have centralized free speech kind of thing? But for things that are more controversial, you might have to turn to this or something like that. But my hope is that this just makes creating applications more streamlined and easier. So
Mhm.
I'm hoping to get to a point where Dash Platform is performant enough and cheap enough, meaning expensive, not expensive,
Yeah.
to make it appealing to just developers who they just want to spin up a proof of concept and they don't want to register with yet another cloud service.
Mhm.
They just want to dump their data on Dash Platform, just like they would dump data onto any other service, but you don't have to register for it. You don't have to put contact information in. You don't have to pull out your credit card and sign up to, I just hope it makes it easier to develop applications that need some kind of global state storage and some kind of authentication. So that's why I say SPA for SPAs, storage, payments, and authentication for single page applications is kind of the niche sweet spot. If we can nail down the performance and the cost.
Yeah.
And that's yet to be seen. And we'll be seeing that in the coming months, whether it's cost efficient. Because time is money, right? If you can do all this stuff very quickly and easily with just an SDK, then that could be a lot cheaper when you factor in the time it takes to spin up your own database and create your own server and all that stuff. If you can just create a single page application, now you got your global state storage and auth and payments and all that stuff integrated. That's where I see it shining.
Yeah. The first example that comes to mind for me is like Wikipedia. It seems like it'd be the perfect thing for something like that, right? Where it's a generalized like public service that potentially, collecting payments through donations and whatever for people's time. And it seems like it'd be great for that.
But it's kind of up to the entrepreneurs. We're building the technology, and I'm hoping the entrepreneurs will see opportunities somewhere. But I always come back to those three things. If your application needs storage, payments, and authentication, then and you don't want to create your own server and database system, this is something you should look into.
Yeah, or people with censorship oriented governments. I feel like this potentially would be a very liberating platform for them. I am of the mind that I like to have like the trust built into the actual contract. So like the idea, like there are great free speech platforms all over the place, but I think nothing speaks like the technology that guarantees those type of things. So it's very exciting that there is options out there for this. In going through this tutorial, the one thing that comes to mind is like what you mentioned about performance. It does seem like certain type of applications would be fine where it's not critical, like real-time transactions. Is that something that you expect to like improve over time? Or is it something with just this tutorial setup in the sandboxing we're doing it, or I guess what's the thoughts on
network? The network is actually in theory extremely performant. Okay. The software is very performant. The issues that we've been seeing are network and SDK related. So they're not necessarily limits to the underlying consensus mechanisms or things like that are at the node level. They have to do with like, the SDK isn't doing retries, or it
doesn't cache the history.
Cache the history. It's contacting a node that's not really operational, and it should find another one that's better. That kind of stuff, and that's all fixable pretty easily. We just have to look into it. That's actually one of the things that I'm going to be looking into this quarter. Great.
And so right now, I mean, obviously some of this stuff is abstracted with some of the prep work that Anthony did with the scripts. I assume these are just like, are these like post requests, like REST requests right now, or what's the mechanism for actually, like, how does that?
It's all gRPC under this.
It's gRPC. Okay. Cause that was my next question actually, I was wondering if I've been doing some like Go development, and I was just wondering if like what kind of things are available. So gRPC is what's actually being used. Okay.
Yeah. There has been talk to expose some of it via REST. And right now we are focused on just using the SDKs. But I would like to expose some REST endpoints on the nodes themselves so that it can be client independent and language independent. But that's not something that we've focused on yet. Right now, actually, the best SDK to use is the Rust SDK.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And there's talk about whether we should just wrap that in with a JavaScript wrapper and use that, since it's a little bit better than the JavaScript SDK, or whether it's better to have a better fix up the JS SDK. But we haven't decided really on that. But yeah, it's under the hood. It is mostly gRPC.
Interesting. And actually, that was so my other question was like, is Node the only way to really interact? It sounds like Rust even has a better like way to do it. Other languages that are supported, Go, PHP.
We haven't done client libraries for Go or PHP. The only ones we've done is JS and Rust.
Okay.
But if people, like that is kind of the debate right now is, do we need multiple clients, or do we just need one all powerful Rust client that has wrappers?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, this just an aside, like as for my project that we were talking about in the beginning with Svelte compilations, we were at one point wondering like, okay, like if someone's doing this in Rust, like could we just like call out to that instead? And it's hard to tell, right? Because you lose some flexibility of being able to build your API in a certain way, but you might just get performance and ease of use and portability across different technologies. So I think it's definitely a good debate to be had there. So I want to check in with you guys time-wise. Are we coming up towards the end here? I don't know. Do you want to get into this Express stuff? What are we looking at timeline?
I think we have another half hour. Actually.
Oh, we have another half hour. Okay.
Well, I think that these steps will probably only take like 10 minutes.
Okay.
So we could just go ahead and finish those real quick.
Okay. All right. So it looks like we're getting into setting up a backend server with Express. So I'll just read here, I guess. Now that we've learned how to run individual scripts and perform all the main functionality on the Dash platform, like any JavaScript library, we can extend this functionality with a backend and front end. Let's create an Express server that will return information on a given identity name. So we're basically creating a full web app to interact with the API stuff that we've set up. That's what it sounds like.
That's what this is doing. We technically don't need a backend for this, since the JavaScript SDK can be used on the client front end itself. But yeah, this is how we do it in the tutorial right now.
And now, is this like a different project entirely? Are we branching?
It's all the same project. Yeah.
Same project.
Okay. You're going to connect to the same client file.
Okay. All right. So we'll install Express. And then we'll
if we have more time, I'd have you build out a Svelte front end. I can tell you there is one actually, because I built the same thing in all the frameworks. I haven't run it in like a year.
You're one of the most well-versed technologists I know, so I'm sure you've you've run the gamut with frameworks there. Okay, so so we have our server file. We're going to copy some boilerplate here, and our server file, actually, that's in our API. Okay. Do you want to run through this at all, Anthony?
Let's just blow through it as quick as you can at this point.
Yeah.
Just so
you know how an Express server works.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to run it.
Yeah, it's just creating an endpoint for the name specifically. So whatever name you give the endpoint, it'll feed in as basically the query. So the whole page will return the output.
Is that not what I wanted?
So there's a curl. Go back to the tutorial and it'll tell you the specific.
Gotcha.
Should be.
Oh, okay. All right. So we're gonna.
So this localhost 2001/name/Jim, whatever you're.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Wow. Beautiful. Did you design this? Nice. This is great. Okay.
Yeah, and then the next step is just a next app that fetches from that endpoint.
Cool. All right.
And by the way, Jimmy Wales, one of the original creators of Wikipedia, has like this vision of creating a new Wikipedia that is blockchain enabled. So you're actually right on the money with that.
I actually think I might have saw an interview with him about that. So that might be,
He's next on the platform walkthroughs.
oh yeah, nice. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I don't know what his intention there is, leveraging an existing project or what, but it would be nice to get more people rowing in the same direction, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I didn't look at what you wanted me to put in. I just did all the defaults. Hopefully that's
that's fine.
okay.
And you can actually skip this part and just go to the next, because this just sets you up with your main app. You can just so scroll down a little further to the page.js. It'll give you all the logic.
This stuff here.
Yeah, just grab that one.
Okay.
Cut to the chase.
Get the good stuff. All right. Next. All right.
Page.
Oh, did you not want a TypeScript?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, so just blow all that away.
Okay.
And then you're gonna need a .env.local file with your name.
Okay.
And that's going to be inside of your next project.
Okay. This here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we have. So I have to create one here.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. .m.local. You say?
Yeah.
Okay. And
then just same label that you were using. And then cd into the next directory and run npm run start.
Okay. All right.
Actually, dev. Sorry, not start. npm run dev. Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay, and then localhost 3000.
Okay. Oh, it wants to go to Firefox. How about that? Whoops. I'm running a different application there. Do you know what? I thought I had stopped that. Maybe it's cache. Okay, let me see here. Okay, that seems to be fine. Let me just.
You just open a browser and go to local.
Anthony, you should choose a different port, man.
Namespace. Yeah, that's the next default. It's definitely not super convenient.
Let's see if I can get us there. Okay, here we are.
I think you have to. It's not getting your
identity
for sure. Oh, I know why.
What's that?
I think go look at your page again.
Okay.
Page.tsx. Next public label. Is that the correct thing?
Oh, he did end.local.
Oh yeah. What is it? What am I supposed to do?
Does it translate it behind the scenes from next, or?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Next public label. Next.
You might have to restart your Express server. Maybe. Or are you still running the Express server?
Maybe I didn't save that. Let me just try that again. Oh, I turned my Express server off. Should that be running?
Yeah. So that needs to be running. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I forget how we were running that. Was it
just npm run express.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. All right. Give it a second.
I would restart your. Oh, there it is. Actually, yeah. There you go.
Cool. Sweet.
All right, and there's your app.
Hey, it looks good. It got a background color. Oh, is it? It's got like a fade to it. I like it.
It's the next default, I guess.
Oh yeah. Nice. Cool.
So that's it.
Wow.
You just built a dApp. You built a dApp. There you go.
I mean, yeah, I think a lot of that was just going over core concepts, which was super helpful for me. But honestly, it wasn't so strenuous of a thing to get up and running with a completely new paradigm that I'm used to. So I think that's great. I think this is
Sweet.
Well, thank you both for taking the time to show me. And also, Anthony, I think this blog post is awesome. You did a great job.
Thanks.
Yep. Cool. We have another stream coming up soon here, so I think we'll jump off here. And thanks, Jim. It was a pleasure to meet you, and maybe we can stay on the show for a little bit after we go off the live show.
Sure.
And we'll get you squared away. And for everybody else, tune in probably 15, 20 minutes or so for the next show. We've had 2 already, so
all right.
keep going. All right. See you, everyone.
All right. Later.